Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more K-pop audition information and tips like this. And in today's video, I'm going to be explaining everything you need to know about debts and expenses while you are a trainee or an idol. So this mini-series is divided into two parts. Part one is this one, obviously. So in this part, I'm going to be giving you guys the general overview of how trainee debt expenses work. And I'm also going to be answering some questions that you guys asked me on my community post. And in part two, I'll be answering the rest of the questions that you guys asked me. Oh, and I also wanted to explain that within trainee debt and expenses, there are so many gray areas because one, not a lot of information is given to the public, so all of the information that we really have is from insiders or past trainees, but even so, we can't really 100% trust them because as time goes, information changes, and also it might be different for a bunch of different companies. That is quite obvious. And there really is no one answer because it's different for so many different situations. So it would be amazing if you guys didn't ask any what if questions because there could be so many situations, I guess. And I'm just trying to give you guys a general overview of how things go and not into really like specific things because it is different for every company. So with that being said, let's get on to the video. So when someone passes all of the audition rounds, then they are a trainee, but they also have to sign the trainee contract. So within this contract, there would be information of how long you would have to stay to the company, how debt works, how the renewal process works, all of that stuff. And so you and your parents would have to sign that contract and agree to that. So once you are a trainee, everything basically is paid by the company, which we will get into a bit later, but it goes into your debt. So let's say you debuted, then you would be working towards earning money to pay back your debt. And there would be no earnings until all of your debt is paid back. And if you don't end up debuting, there are so many different situations that this could bring, but we're also going to be answering that in part two, I believe. It is one of the questions. So that's kind of how that works. Hopefully it made sense. And let's get on with the first question, which is, what are the things that go into your debt? So your food, dorms, and any other living expenses go into your debt. And obviously training fees. So if you do dance, vocal lessons, that would all be included. And other lessons that you want to do would also be included. And your school fees could also be in your debt. So I have a video about school. So if you want to watch that video, you can. I won't really get into the details about that right now. So any significant thing that you purchase or use during your training period as a trainee, the company would pay for that, but it would also go into your debt. And keep in mind that if you're buying something like small, like your own snacks or your own clothing, the company won't pay for that. You know, that's just kind of out of your own money, wherever you get that from. And so question two is debt different for non-Koreans? If the company paid for your flight ticket, which is highly unlikely, but if they did, that would also be included. And if they took care of your visa, which they most likely did, then that would also be in your debt because visa costs money as well. And so number three is, can you just pay directly as you go instead of all going into your debt? And that's a big no. You don't get to like make your own decisions about these things. You sign the contract that they provide you. You won't just like change the contract to however you would like it to be. It's what the company provides for you, and it's a system that they've created. So you've also got to respect that as well. And if you don't like that process, then you're not probably going to be a trainee. So this is just kind of like an unreasonable question. But the next question is, what happens to unsuccessful groups? How would they pay back their company? So obviously, because they are unsuccessful, it would be very difficult to pay them back because of the low earnings that they have and the little success that their comebacks or their debut brings to them. And I just wanted to mention here that debuts and comebacks, all of those things are very expensive. So it can cost as much as or as little as $500,000. And keep in mind that an average American Canadian person earns $50,000 a year. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much comebacks and debuts are. So basically, the less success that they have, the more debt that brings in because they also have to pay back the debuts and comebacks as well. It's like a complicated process, and I'm sure at first it doesn't make sense, but then you'll kind of start to understand it. So don't worry too much. So it is more easier for big three artists or just more popular artists in general to pay back their debt. And we'll actually be getting to that later. I don't know if it's this video or the next part, but we'll be getting to that in a bit. And so the next question is, once debt is paid off, do you get a paycheck or is it returned through food and housing? So once you pay back all of your debt, then you will get a paycheck. And I don't know how much this will be because it obviously depends on the company. It depends on the artist, how many members there are, all of that. And so kind of related to that question is, how much do K-pop idols actually earn? This question is just kind of funny for me because it almost seems like you want to be a K-pop idol just for the money. If you are, please don't. Like, it's not a easy road, and you don't even know what's gonna happen. There's no guarantee. So if you're doing it for the money instead of your passion and your dreams and goals, it's not a good idea. Or to meet your idols, like that's even dumber, I'm sorry. So like I said, how much K-pop idol earns varies so much. It's not even like on the spectrum of things. Like, I can't just put out a number on there and be like, yeah, that's the general amount. And honestly, we'll never know what each K-pop idol earns in a year or something like that, because they won't share that to the public, obviously. So the next question is, how do companies profit distribute? So I'll give you like a picture on here. So this is basically how companies distribute their money into theirs and also the idols. You might think of it as, oh, the idols are only working. The company basically does nothing. They don't even give fair treatment. Why do they have to have that kind of distribution when it comes to their profit? But it makes sense, because within that company, there are different staffs, right? There are managers that they have to pay, there are producers, there are stylists, all of that. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of people working behind K-pop idols. So you can't just see it as one company boss compared to K-pop idols, right? It's like a whole group of people working for K-pop idols and vice versa as well. So within that, they also have to split it with the members. So groups, large groups like 17, Luna, I don't know, like you can't really count NCT because they promote as subunits. However, yeah, all of those profits would have to be split. So it would be easier for less membered groups like Blackpink, EXID, I guess Red Velvet. They would potentially earn more money, I guess, compared to groups like 17 and Luna individually. And the next question is, where does most of their profit come from? So I'm assuming you're talking about K-pop idols. So a lot of K-pop idols don't actually earn that much through their music, which is pretty ironic considering like they're artists. So honestly, people don't really buy music on their phone. They usually just, I guess, buy albums, but that would also have to go to the album designer, the actual factory that made that, all of that. So they don't really earn a lot through their music, but they do earn a bit more from CFs. So this could be advertisements, and there's also like tours, so like concerts, world tours, whatever you'd like to call it. However, it is more work-based, so obviously it makes sense that the idols get paid more when it comes to concerts rather than shows. And also acting earns a bit more money too if the show or the movie is successful, if the company allows it, because not every company allows their artists to do these kind of things. And the last question that I'll be answering in this part is, can trainees or idols get part-time jobs to support themselves and just to raise money? And honestly, most companies would not allow this because they want their trainees and their idols to focus on their goal. However, some trainees and some idols do confess that they did it behind their company's back or with their permission. But to be honest, most companies would really not allow it, and it makes sense because having a part-time job is also time consuming, and when you're a trainee, you would have to focus on training solely, you know? So that is all of the questions I have for this part. Make sure to stay tuned for part 2 because I do have a lot more questions there. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here for more K-pop audition tips and information, and I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to comment down this emoji if you made it till here. Bye! Thanks for watching! Ah. Let me try that again.